Going to keep rolling in. It's about 2 minutes till, but we've got a lot of information to cover in the next hour. I've got a lot of things that I want to cover with you guys, and so there's a lot of stuff that you want to make sure to try to at least remember, but it'd be great if you could write it down as well. My name is Matt Shoup. I am a recruiter from a company called LinkedIn. We are the largest professional social media website on the web. We are the third largest social media website in the world. I am specifically a big data recruiter. I love hiring people for big data. So I usually am hiring data scientists, research scientists, software engineer types. But for CMU, because it is my favorite university, I'm recruiting everybody and anybody for you guys. So if there's anything in particular you want to be at LinkedIn, I can hire you for that. But only CMU. Every other university, you guys have got every other university out there has probably got another recruiter assigned to you. Cool. So something a little bit about me. The usual way we do introductions at LinkedIn is that we talk a little bit about first name, title, and something that is not on my LinkedIn profile. So something that is not on my LinkedIn profile is I love video games. I am a huge gamer geek. It comes from my background of being computer science myself. I play video games all the time. I was playing video games last night. Cool. All right. First, let's go through the room a little bit. How many people here are looking for software engineering positions? Okay, about a quarter, maybe 20%. Who is looking for business positions? Okay. Who's looking for something I didn't list off? What is the other things I'm not? Just yell it out. Design. Okay. Business. User experience, design. Good. I've got some specific stuff for you guys. I'm sorry, say that again? Release engineer? Okay, release engineer. Kind of like a software engineer, but not really. What else? What else do we have in the room that I don't know about? So I make sure that I cover some specific stuff about your background. Embedded systems. Cool. Embedded systems. Also similar to a software engineer, but not quite. Cool. All right, so that gives me a good idea. Mostly we have technical folks in here. We have a couple of business people here. We have a couple design folks in here, but mostly technical folks. All right, so to go through what I want to cover today is I want to cover mostly what your professional identity should cover first, and then we're going to go into some specifics about how to use each of the different tools. Sounds good? Great. Awesome. First, let's cover who went to the Google presentation about how to build your resume. Good, most of the room. This is an extension off of that. A lot of these feedback and ideas is going to be an extension from what Google was covering in their talks. So I didn't agree with all of her points. I didn't disagree with a lot of her points. In fact, I found a lot of it really, really good. But like everything with these presentations for any company, it's just data points, more information for you to grab. You might disagree with me on it. Great, because everybody needs to be their own unique individual. But grab my information as much as you can and use whatever you think is appropriate. So with a resume or your brand, you want to be concise, consistent, metrics, and then describe beyond the job. So when we're doing concise, I don't need fluffy little extraordinary or great with communication or other stuff that doesn't get deeper into the subject of you. I want you to be consistent. So when you have an online portfolio of LinkedIn, and then you have Twitter, and then you have Pinterest, I want each of those brands to be consistent with whatever else you have out there. Don't be very unprofessional in one place and then completely professional in another place, because then your future boss is very confused and i.e. probably won't hire you. Then metrics. Who knows what the word metrics means? Who's heard of the word? Actually, raise your hand if you've heard of the word. Okay, half of the room. Basically, your entire life in corporate world is going to be defined by metrics, which is really just data. You're collecting data to better understand how much of an impact you have at a company. So I define my life by the impact that I have. If I'm making a difference with a particular person, or I'm making a difference on a lot of people, if I make a difference in this room, that's an impact. I have had an impact on you. And we measure impact by metrics, by how much percentage increase or how much percentage decrease or something else. You need to measure it. Like we come back to at LinkedIn over and over and over again. If you can't measure it, you can't improve it. You need to be able to measure everything you do, and then you can identify how much you can improve it. And then by defining how much you improve it, you can then show other people how much of an improvement you made for that company, and therefore they want to hire you. If you can measure it, you can improve it. And then go beyond the job. So your professional identity is not just what you do on the job. Your professional identity is your brand, your professional image to the entire world. So when you go back to my LinkedIn profile, I specifically made a choice to not include a headshot of a business thing. I specifically decided to do my picture on Everest because I want people to know that I want to go to the top. So it's a personal choice to do something very unusual and not professional because I want people to realize that part of me. Okay, cool. So that first point just took up how much time? Oh my gosh, we got so much more to do. All right, cool. So don't lie. This is going back to another thing that comes from the resume, but applies to everything in life. There's a couple of things that will kill your job interview or job possibilities. Killing somebody, stealing from the company, and lying. So if you ever get caught in a lie from a recruiter or a hiring manager, you're done. You're out. Like absolutely gone. Like if I ever catch you in a lie, you're done. So most of the people in the room are like, yeah, duh, I won't ever do that. And then there's like 5 to 10% of you are like, well, maybe I've cut the corners a little bit on those words. Like don't ever, ever, ever get caught in a lie. So your professional identity goes back to on LinkedIn. Don't lie about anything. On Facebook, don't ever get caught in a lie. Don't ever get called out for a lie. In Pinterest, in Twitter, like make sure that when you're saying stuff, you're saying factual stuff. You're not saying like opinions. Okay, cool. All right, so the 3 things that increases your search quality for LinkedIn and a lot of other of the sites. First, you need to have a profile picture. Second, you need to have your name spelled correctly. There's a lot of people who get this wrong. And then third, you should have a title. So for LinkedIn specifically, we have titles, but for other profile sites such as Facebook, you don't have a title. But try to make sure you have a profile pic and that you have your name spelled correctly and the name that you want to have on your resume that people are looking for. So a lot of people who are coming from other countries tend to have a couple of names that they go by. So try to make sure that you have a consistent on your resume to your professional identity for all of the job applications that you're filling in, that is consistent throughout. Okay? So for the profile picture, somebody asked over here, the profile picture that you're usually going to go for is going to be a headshot professional. So a great one that I usually go back to is Jane's. So it's nice. It's not exactly her, it's not like her in a suit, but it makes her look professional. It makes her look like she's having a fun time, and you get an idea of like that it's a little off center, so that actually draws you in. So that's to an extent. First and foremost, just have a headshot that you look professional in. Like you have that, you're good. It would be nice if you smiled. In European countries on your CV, it's actually encouraged for you not to smile. In America, it is. In America, the culture is that you do smile in your headshots, in these kind of pictures. Okay? All right. Let's see. What was I going to cover next? Okay. Then on LinkedIn or Facebook or Twitter, make sure that you have your profile fleshed out as much as you possibly can. On your Twitter account or your Pinterest account, you want people to be able to find you, but you also don't want your stalkers to find you. You have a cat and mouse game you have to play. You have to choose how much information you're going to put out there, but I encourage everybody to have your profile filled out as much as you possibly can. Especially on your LinkedIn profile account, I see so many people applying to jobs with the LinkedIn profile, and it's very, very sparse, very, very like nothing is there. And then you're applying for jobs, and then I immediately delete. If I don't have any information on there, or if you have a Pinterest account and you don't have anything that you do with it, then it's kind of pointless for you to have it anyway. So go deeper into those accounts and try to actually have a fleshed out, true professional identity, and then try to keep up with it. This is a little bit difficult, and this is probably the hardest thing I'm going to say for you guys to do, is to keep up with it. Keep up with your LinkedIn profile accounts, keep up with your Twitter accounts, keep up with your Pinterest accounts, keep up with all of the other accounts that exist out there, and keep a somewhat active account going on, and try to do status updates every once in a while so that people are keeping track of you. This is a subtle marketing tool that everybody needs to be using. Like, you are defined by it. Now, if you just want to be an individual contributor and be a software engineer or a release engineer or an embedded engineer for the rest of your life, and you don't really want to go on to leadership positions, you could probably get away with not doing status updates every day. But if you really want to move on to being a manager and director and VP, those people are the types of people who keep up with their marketing and keep selling themselves over and over and over again. So you guys are going to have to get used to that. You're going to have to get used to making a brand about yourself and then putting it out there on a regular basis. At least as students, you should be doing it every month to every 2 months. You have a question?
Is it okay to share articles and links from others as a status update? Will that count as a status update?
Yeah.
Or should that be a personal event or something like that?
So, for example, I put up today great article about how the CEO of oh crap, I forgot. Where is he from? CEO from? All right, he is a CEO of a restaurant that's really cool that I really like. Oh, Panera Bread, and he's living off of food coupons for the week. And he's like, I don't know if I can do this, if I can survive off of just food coupons. But I really enjoyed it, and it happened to be on the front page. A LinkedIn article happened to be on the front page of Reddit, so I was like, cool thing. There's definitely a lot of different things, and this identifies what I'm interested in. I'm actually this identifies that I'm not just a recruiter. I'm something else beyond recruiting. And in this particular sense, I was pointing out, like, I really have an interest in how people survive on poverty. So it defines your professional image. There's a lot of things that you're interested in outside of the workplace, and that should still also be represented in your professional identity. Now, in your LinkedIn account, it's not as easy because that's a very professional thing. But then in the Twitter feeds or in the Pinterest accounts or in the other accounts that you're going to have, you're going to talk a little bit more about your personal interests, and that's totally acceptable. And in fact, it's encouraged because you should have a life outside work. You should have a life. You should have a life that is meaningful and play just as hard as you work. All right, cool. Which, by the way, I highly encourage you guys to keep interrupting me because this is not a presentation. This is just a conversation. Cool. All right. Then the next thing I wanted to cover that covers everything is limit your access. This is specifically about Facebook, but also it covers some of your other stuff too. There are going to be sites, there are going to be your other social media, there are going to be things out there that you don't necessarily want a complete stranger to know about you. I.e., I don't encourage any of my coworkers to connect with me on Facebook because I'm going to talk about things on Facebook I don't want them to know about. That's probably not professional. I probably shouldn't even do that. But I want to feel comfortable to talk about whatever I want to talk about on my Facebook site that I don't have to worry about my director seeing. So there are going to be things, or future directors, there are going to be things that you want to keep private, so you're going to want to make sure that you have privacy settings set up for all of this stuff. Now, most of the people in the room are like, duh, but there's a couple of you who are like, wait a second, I can't remember if I did that. You should probably do that now. Question in the back.
What if your boss adds you? You're not going to say no.
What if your boss adds you? It's your personal preference. And if you choose to ignore your boss, let him know very directly, hey, by the way, I ignored you for this specific reason. In the future, this might be a case where I become friends with you outside of work, then that would be awesome. But just within work, I'm going to keep the work and the personal life separate. And your boss is going to be very pleased with you being very direct about it, and should be very professional about it. Cool. All right, so I really enjoyed the keynote speech earlier today, about 12 o'clock, where she said 43% use social media information to decide not to hire a candidate. So that means that out of the companies out there, there has been at least 1 or 2 candidates where we've chosen not to move forward with a candidate because of something that they shared on social media that we went out and searched for, which, by the way, all of us do. All the recruiters look at it. Every single time I get a candidate, I'm going to Google your name and find what comes up. Because my hiring managers do it, and if I'm not doing it before my hiring managers do it, I'm going to be in trouble. Great example, in my very first job when I was doing recruiting for Microsoft, I sent a resume on, and we were about halfway through the interview process, and one of the main director sends me an email saying, hey, by the way, did you ever take a look at his webpage that is on his resume? I'm like, no, I never had a chance to look at it. Well, it shows him smoking pot on his webpage. So he was immediately gone. And I never checked that. Now that seems obvious, but think about some of the things that people put on their Facebook site, or some things that they put on or on the old school MySpace. Like they just weren't really thinking. Now remember, any time that something happens and it gets put on the web, it's saved there forever. You can never get rid of it. So the best you can do is try to hide it as best you can. So be careful. Please be careful about anything that gets on the web, because it will get out there. Somehow somebody will find it again. Okay? And then finally, proofread. This is possibly the biggest, most important thing about your online identity. This goes back to the same thing as a resume. When I was recruiting for Google, if we ever found a resume that had a typo, a spelling mistake, or a grammar mistake, thrown out immediately. And if we got caught as the recruiters, and somebody else higher up the chain was like, oh, the spelling mistake, then us as recruiters were in a lot of trouble. So a simple spelling mistake on your LinkedIn profile can get you out of the system. I have thousands of applicants to look through. It would be awesome if I could get rid of you that quickly. No offense. But you need to have everything perfect. This especially goes out to the folks who do not have English as your primary language. Double check, triple check, and have it proofread, especially by your career services folks. Those folks will go through it with a fine-tooth comb, make sure that this is double checked, your resume is double checked, and then your LinkedIn profile is double checked. And I encourage all your other profiles to be checked too, because this is part of the great communication that they were talking about during the keynote speech, that we double check and triple check. If you have spelling mistakes, then you're probably going to have mistakes during the job because you don't have great attention to detail. Okay? Cool. All right. Question.
Going back a little bit, you said that we should have a title. So what does title mean? Do you think we should put unable dominant student as a title, or put him as selling leadership?
So this is a personal choice of what kind of title you can have. There's actually debate going on in my company about what kind of title you should have. So I prefer to go with what I want to be introduced as. So do you want to be introduced as a CMU student? Do you want to be introduced as a LinkedIn intern? Do you want to be introduced as searching for software engineering in big data? So that's how I would go after that and answer that question. But the safest thing that everybody in the room can definitely do is CMU student. Unless you're not unless you're a UPitt student. I don't know how you got in. But that's safe, and that's totally okay. But that probably doesn't give enough description of if I really want to talk to you or not, but at least that gives me more information when I'm looking through LinkedIn and I'm looking through thousands of different accounts and I'm trying to find just you because I've searched for you and I really want to know the CMU student. Yeah, that will help. Yeah.
What's the average number of connections that somebody has? Does that have impact?
Does it have impact? No. Average number of connections somebody has, like a recruiter will probably have like 1,000 to 2,000. A software engineer will have anywhere between 50 and 500 based upon, and I'm going by college students, not the experienced folks. It could be range from anything to anything. And I don't really care, especially LinkedIn. Like, dude, if you use my site, great. If you don't use my site, fine. I don't care. What's more important to me is that you're excited and passionate about building great products. So no, I doubt any recruiter out there actually judges you on how many connections you have. Cool. Keep on going. Cool. All right, so who has a LinkedIn profile? Great. Who thinks that their LinkedIn profile could be better? Cool. I'm raising my hand too. I can make my LinkedIn profile a lot better. There's lots of things that you can do to make it better. First and foremost, you need to have it just as strong as your current resume. Okay, so I want to make sure that your resume, your LinkedIn profile is as comprehensive as your resume first, because that's easy, cut and paste. Honestly, that's really, really easy. Then the next thing you can do to make it stronger than your resume is using rich media. So for the business students, I want your PowerPoint presentations linked to your LinkedIn web profile. That's a great way to show how you're a professional and the kinds of things that you're really excited about when the stuff that you're showing off in classes. For software engineers, I want to link to your GitHub account or some other place where you're going to be pointing out your code. GitHub accounts won't necessarily automatically get you an interview, but they either might get you an interview or they might get you an on-site interview. I've had cases just last week where somebody did not do well in their phone interviews, but their GitHub account was strong enough and they had good code in there that we gave him an on-site interview just because we saw some other stuff in his GitHub account that we didn't necessarily see on the interviews. So make sure that you have your code represented somewhere so that we can take a look at it. The summary on the LinkedIn profile. This is going to be like a generic cover letter. So we just heard in the Google presentation, don't use a summary, don't use an objective. I agree with that because most of the time I will get rid of people from a resume based upon their objective and summary if it doesn't fly with what LinkedIn is doing. It can also be really generic where I want a job at your company. Well, duh. Then you've just wasted space. So what I want to see with a summary is what you're excited about. This is what I talk about with my summary is I talk about what I'm excited about. So I'm also trying something new where I'm talking about specifically what I'm really good at that doesn't really specify in my current job or my past jobs what I'm really good at. So I can talk about a summary of just how I'm really, really good at particular things. But I really want to hear from you guys. Okay, I'm really interested in big data, or I'm really, really interested in visual design, or I'm really interested in human-computer interaction, or I'm really interested in embedded data, or embedded software development. I'll probably get that from your resume, or I'm going to get that from your LinkedIn profile. But if you want to go in more in depth about some stuff that you're really excited about, or some projects, or just anything that you want to go after, then the summary is a section in the LinkedIn profile that you can do that. Yeah.
How long should the summary be?
This is a lot longer than it should be. That's just purely because I'm trying something new that they're teaching us. The summary should be about, the longest it can be is 3 paragraphs, which is the same as a cover letter. The shortest it can be is about a paragraph. 1 sentence is too short. Yep.
The summary that you just showed us over there is a couple of third-person narratives as well as first-person narratives. So
Yep.
is there any sort of guideline that we should follow while putting it up?
No, same guidelines that you'll find in every cover letter. I'm just trying something new with this particular one to see how it resonates with the students. I also have a section in there, the project lead, that I haven't even finished yet. So I think that you should be consistent, which I am not in here. And I'm purely trying it out just to see what the reactions are and see what the students like and don't like. But I think that you should, for now, because you're trying to get jobs and you're concerned about other stuff, you should be following the templates that are there for cover letters and what your career services department says about cover letters. Cool. All right, and then work history, similar to resume, but include rich media. I already talked about that. Also, endorsements, recommendations. So those are not required. Those are just nice to haves. There's lots of times I get lots of questions about, well, this person endorsed me for something they don't even know about. Don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. The more important thing is, are you endorsed on a more bigger level for the things you were actually good at? So if you take a look at my LinkedIn and we go down to the endorsements, you'll notice that I'm highly endorsed for technical recruiting, recruiting, and college recruiting. Does that identify me? Yeah, probably. Does donuts define me? No, not really, because I only got 3 endorsements for it. So even though they don't really know if I'm a great donut eater or not, they still nominated me for it. It's fine. It's not a big deal. The more important part is that I'm 62 endorsements for technical recruiting. That I'm probably pretty good for technical recruiting. That's how endorsements work. Now, recommendations, I highly encourage you to get recommendations from strong recommenders. So I specifically asked, where's my endorsement from? For these endorsements out of Google, I only asked for these 2 endorsements. I asked for my boss, and I asked for the person sitting next to me that was doing the exact same job as me. So I wanted these endorsements, and I knew that they could give me strong endorsements based upon what I did with them. So or recommendations, I'm sorry, I'm using the word endorsements when I mean recommendations. This is kind of like a recommendation letter, and you don't often get these. There's some people who love having 20 or 30 of these. There's some people who most of the world have none. But I still think it's a good idea for you as a professional. You as students probably won't have very many, unless you get your professor to write one, which actually would be really, really good if you got your professor to write one for you. Because I can look at that more quickly than I can look for a recommendation letter that is attached to your resume, because sometimes those get taken off. So that would be really helpful. Or a recommendation letter from somebody else that is significant. Don't just get from another student, this guy's awesome. Like, that doesn't mean anything to me. In fact, you were lazy. Okay. Cool. All right, so that's LinkedIn. There's a lot of other stuff with LinkedIn. There's a question.
Yeah, just real quick on the summary, you said make that kind of like your cover letter, right?
Yeah, for now, follow the rules of a cover letter. You don't have to. Summary is not required, but I do highly encourage that if you do a summary and use it the same way as you would use a summary on a resume or an objective. And actually, I highly encourage you not to use those on your resume, because there's a lot better usages for that. But if you're doing it on a LinkedIn profile, do it the same way as you would do a cover letter, which is about a paragraph or 2 or 3.
Would it look worse if my summary was the same thing as what I submitted as my cover letter? So then, for instance, I submit a cover letter to a company, and then they check my LinkedIn profile, and under my summary category is the same exact thing that I submitted as my cover letter.
No, it's okay. The only problem is that I don't agree that you should be submitting the exact same cover letter for every single company. Because I think that when you're submitting a cover letter for a company, such as when I submitted a cover letter for when I was applying for Google, I didn't have to do one for LinkedIn. When I submitted one when I got a job at Google, I specifically made it for Google, and why I think I'm a great fit specifically for that company. You should not be doing cover letters that are generic. That's what a resume is for, is to be generic. A cover letter should be very specific to a particular company and why you're amazing for that one particular company. The summary should be a little bit more generic and should be more about your ambitions, goals, desires. Question?
So regarding the work history, you said similar to resume. Should we go in as much detail, or do you go less detail on the LinkedIn page?
No, actually, so the question is, should you go into more detail or less detail? More detail. More detail. So the nice thing about a LinkedIn profile is that you can go really, really long, and it doesn't have to conform to the one page. So you can go more and more in depth. But it does go back to the original point of being concise. So don't use a lot of fluffy words that make it sound really cool that really don't actually, just waste the recruiter's time. Because I'm still only looking at the resume or LinkedIn profile for 5 seconds. 5 seconds. That's how long I look at resumes. Unless there's something confusing on there, then I might look at it for 10 seconds and be frustrated. Okay. Is there any other questions about LinkedIn profiles? LinkedIn profile is going to be your primary source. When you are doing, when you're using LinkedIn profiles, you're pretty much, when you're doing a Google search, and I did a search for my name, my LinkedIn profile came up at the top. That's usually what's going to happen. When you guys do Google searches on your own names, you need to try to find out if your LinkedIn profile comes up on the top. If your LinkedIn profile does not come up on the top, it's probably because your profile is not filled up as completely as it should be. There's other reasons why that might happen too, such as a lot of people having the same name, Jane Smith, Ankit Gupta. Like, there's a lot of very similar names in the world. Luckily, Matt Shoup is a very uncommon name. So, but there are other people, such as this Gray Fox on Twitter. That's not me. That's a guy. That's actually a student at USC. So there are going to be other people in the world that might have the same name, and you guys are competing for that same Google search. You want to do everything you can to be number one on that list. You really do. Because when employers are looking for you or recruiters are looking for you or anybody's Googling your name, you want to be number one on that search. Because they want to find you. Yeah,
What if your name is John Doe? Like, what do you do about that?
you're screwed.
Okay.
So if you're John Doe or something else that's really, really common like an Ankit Gupta, I have 4 Ankit Guptas at my company, so that's why I keep bringing it up. Actually, we have 2 Matt Shoups. So it's very difficult, and you got to do everything you can to make your LinkedIn profile very unique to yourself and very professional yet standoutish. And you're going to have to send out your LinkedIn profile URL a lot so that people can find it. There are going to be times where people are like, I can't find you in the world. And that's okay. Here's my URL. Here's my personal website. Here is my social media brand. So that you have to give it to other people because you have a very common name. Having a common name is actually a very difficult thing to have these days. So you just have to do your best in order to get it out there and just share it with lots of people.
Where would you do that? Would you link it
In your emails.
cover letter?
So
No?
so if you feel like you're having difficulty getting noticed, then you can list it on your resume, or you can list it on a lot of your other social media sites. So that when they find one, they find all the others. You can make sure that all your connections are using that particular thing, so that people are clicking on it. So it just dries up the search bar. Actually, there's lots of different ways so that you can increase your searchability. Google that on how to increase your own searchability, but make sure that they can find you, that these recruiters can find you. Yeah.
So Matt, you look at a lot of resumes and also LinkedIn profiles.
Yeah.
And there's always this challenge of doing following a pattern and still being unique or different in your style. Can you throw in some tips regarding to that or talk about it a little bit?
Okay. So the question is, how do you make yourself unique? This is going to go back to some of the stuff at the beginning of concise, consistent metrics and beyond the job. So the concise is so that the recruiter who only has 5 seconds sees the most important things. The consistent is so that we don't get confused because you're saying you're a software engineer up here and then you're an MBA student or that you're an analyst down here. The metrics is so that you can show your impact and how strong you are at a particular company, and more importantly, how you measure up against everybody else in the world. And then finally, beyond the job, so that you show that you're a well-rounded person, that people want to hang out with you more than just do work with you, because you're getting hired not necessarily for your technical skills, but because people want to work with you. People usually want to work with you because you're good, but they also want to work with you because you're fun. So you've got to include all of this stuff in your resume and your LinkedIn profile and all the other stuff that is social media. You have to identify all of these things that are you. So a good way to do that is just play, do more, be involved in a lot of stuff, and don't just hide in your room all day. Yeah, question.
In the kind of beyond the job umbrella category, if you're beyond the job, like aspects of your life can also be like a freelance thing, like say you're a freelance singer or a freelance photographer, how would you put that into your LinkedIn profile? Like would that go under work history? Would that go in your summer? Like where would be the best place for that to show up?
So let's edit my profile. Okay, so on the right you have languages, publications, organizations, honors, awards. You definitely, as students, should take advantage of that stuff on the side. I'm in the way. Look at that stuff. Oh my gosh. Okay, it's cool. So you can see a lot of different things in here. You can see languages, publications, organizations, awards, test scores, courses, patents, certifications, volunteering causes. Lots of stuff in your LinkedIn profile that doesn't have anything to do with your job history. Do you know why all that's there? It's because of you guys. Oh my gosh. University students. You're university students. You guys have so much more going on than just your school, your work life. So we wanted to make sure that we included you and included all the things that you might be involved in. So make sure to use all of that stuff. And specifically to answer your question, you're going to have stuff. I'm going down to the bottom. The interests, personal details, advice for contacting. I think that if you included that in your interests section, That might be a good idea. You could also list it as a job, but I don't think that that would actually be the best for you because you don't necessarily want to be contacted for jobs with that. So do it under interests, do it under organizations, but there's definitely lots of different sections to cover things that are not a part of your professional life. Cool. Question over there.
As compared to LinkedIn, how important it is to be active on other social networks like Twitter and Pinterest and others. So on.
Okay, so it is extremely important that you're involved in. It's extremely important you're involved in social media as a whole.
Not just LinkedIn.
No, definitely not just LinkedIn. Then LinkedIn is nice to have. Facebook is nice to have. Twitter is nice to have. You use them together, they work together a lot better than if you just use one. Social media as a whole is a very powerful tool, but it won't solve your problems for you. So that's a thing I'm going to get to in a little bit, but I really want to emphasize the point of social media, your professional brand, and all this other stuff is not necessarily just going to get you a job. You still have to do all the other hard work of what these other presentations are about. Your interviewing skills, your resume skills, your leadership skills, your communication skills, all this stuff you have to work on. This is just another way to build and improve your tool set, your toolkit, your tool belt. Yes. Question?
So what are you looking for in the LinkedIn?
In the LinkedIn account?
Yeah.
Something beyond your resume. So first and foremost, I want to make sure that for me, if your LinkedIn profile is not as fleshed out and as good as your LinkedIn if your LinkedIn profile is not as good as your resume, fine, that's standard for students, unfortunately. But if your resume is as good as your LinkedIn profile, great, awesome. But there's not a lot I can do beyond that. But if your LinkedIn profile has more about you, let's say it has your interests on there, or it has some awards that you've won, or it has a presentation or some code on there or something else that you didn't include on there, then that helps me learn more about you, and it helps me as a recruiter sell you to the hiring manager. More information I learn about you, that helps me better understand who you are and how to take you to the next level. Because I want to learn more about each and every one of you as your recruiter, and that helps me to take you to the next step. It helps me to sell you. It helps me to know more about you as your recruiter, because your recruiter, if you ever speak with a recruiter, by the way, that means that they're already on your side. If you don't speak to a recruiter, that means they've already rejected your resume. If you do speak to a recruiter, that means that they're already fighting for you. They're already using up time to talk to you. That means that they really, really, really want you. And so when you move on past that step, the next person that you talk to, a hiring manager or somebody who's interviewing you, that person's already spending time with you, means that they want to help you out. So usually the people who you're talking to, interviewing or recruiter time, they always want to help you out. And the more information they can give you in a quicker way, that consistent, concise, consistent, yeah, that makes everything work much better. Cool. Question? Yeah, but it usually doesn't come up with anything. So I will sometimes, if I can't find any information, or actually what happens most often is I get those really common names. I will Google their Gmail address or something else address and might come up with something, but usually it doesn't. All right. Okay, so LinkedIn Recruiter. I'm going to do a quick demo of what LinkedIn Recruiter looks like so that you guys know what recruiters are looking at. Okay, so oh my gosh, it looks very similar, doesn't it? Well, it's not actually. So I can do a search in this bar, but usually that's what most recruiters don't do. What most recruiters do is they go to the advanced search. And then I'm going to go Java, and I'm going to go, there's some times where I look for a specific job, such as software engineer or company, but I'm not this time because I'm going to go down here to school. I'm going to go CMU, yes, Carnegie Mellon, and I'm going to end at 2014.
So if you have not mentioned CMU on your profile, it won't come up.
Maybe. I can look for just anybody who doesn't have it, but it's a lot harder because I'm specifically wanting to find you guys. I can in here type in degree, computer science, but it doesn't have it. Or I can type in here, computer science? There we are. But I'm not going to because I really just want to find people who know how to do Java right now. Now I'm making it very broad right at the moment. I can, so I've got 730 results of people who are 2014 CMU with Java on their resume. And then I can narrow it down even further. Oh, I can look at just people who work at Google right now. So probably those are Google interns, and then I have Microsoft interns if I wanted to poach those guys. Or I can go to here where I can go to degree, bachelor's degree, or if I want to go to something else such as field of study, I can go to computer information, or if I can go to relationships and talk to people who I have actual connections to. Let's only go to second degree connections so that then I can only talk to the people who I'm friends of friends with. So let's go to Jonathan Clark. Well, no, somebody's already reached out to him. Let's talk to Elizabeth Davis. All right, so Elizabeth Davis, I have her email address, I have her phone number, I have, we've already tried to talk to her about web dev stuff, and somebody's talking to her already. And then Amber's reached out to her, and then we've posted her, and then Jamie, which, by the way, all these people are not me. These are other recruiters, but I have all the connection stuff because all the recruiters keep track of all the other recruiters' activity, and so we're all keeping track of each other's stuff in LinkedIn Recruiter. So don't try to play it off like we don't know what's going on, because we talk. Facebook, the last 3 months as an intern, teaching assistant, language technologies researcher, all that stuff. So same stuff is what, and there's her resume on there too. So all the same stuff that's on her regular profile account, but the important part is that then I can reach out and talk to her. Let's see. And I could even print off a PDF of her LinkedIn profile. Ooh, she's got a personal website. Let's look at that. Cool, there's her personal website that she is listed on her profile. So all of this stuff is mostly stuff because she just filled out her LinkedIn profile, so that then I can reach out to her and get a hold of her that much quicker. So very important stuff here. There's her PDF. I can use this PDF in case I can't seem to find her resume. I can use this. So hopefully nobody wrote down her phone number or email because that's inappropriate. Okay, cool. So that's kind of what LinkedIn Recruiter uses. It's the #1 recruiting tool. It's pretty much the only recruiting tool for a lot of companies. It's at the college level, still a lot of companies are not using LinkedIn Recruiter. It's going to be changing here in the next month, or not next month, in the next year or two as more students have more and more LinkedIn profiles. Sorry, I need to stand for the camera. But as you get into the corporate world, pretty much that's all they use. And as software engineers, my software engineers at LinkedIn get at least an email or two a day from corporate recruiters. I get emails from students or other people that want jobs at LinkedIn pretty much every day. Pretty much that's how most people are connecting with each other to get jobs right now. So it's very important to have at least your profile set up so that recruiters can find you. All right, questions?
How important or unimportant is the same email address from social networks?
How important is it to have a consistent email across everything? Is a better question. So you want to have a consistent email for everything, not necessarily just using your CMU account or just using, you should probably have like a Gmail account or Yahoo account as a consistent thing you're going to use for a lot of your career. Because once you change that account, all of your data with another company gets lost. So it's very helpful for you to keep your brand consistent in order to have the same email account for the rest of your life, because that makes it consistent and easy for people to find you later on in life. People are still emailing my Hotmail account from 10 years ago, although I don't use it anymore. All right, I'm gonna have to go quick because I have only a couple more minutes. Facebook, so just a quick summary of Facebook. Just be very, very careful about how you use it. Be very, very careful because most of the time that's personal life and you do not want to blend your personal life with your professional life. People more often, almost never will you get hired for something based on your Facebook account. And there are stories, not personal stories I have, but there are stories I have heard of people getting fired because of stuff on their Facebook account. So I've never heard of anybody getting hired because of stuff on your Facebook account. Just be careful. Twitter actually is a great, powerful tool, but you have to also be very careful to make sure it stays professional. So what most of my friends use it for is actually talking to leaders in the industry, or following leaders in the industry and starting conversations about particular things. So I've got a great friend up in Seattle. He really loves comic books, and he's following a lot of different comic book authors. He has great conversations with the comic book authors about why they went that particular direction. I do the same thing with big data professors, with big data developers. I have conversations with them on why they chose that particular method to do that particular algorithm, that particular way, or to get referrals. So it's really, really great tool to have those conversations with stuff you're really passionate about. So following people and having an idea of what's going on in the industry, and then knowing more about why they're interested in those particular things, that's great. Just make sure that when you're tweeting stuff that you want to make sure that your mom's okay with, and then your boss is okay with. Okay, cool. So great conversation starters, just be careful. Pinterest. Which, by the way, when I'm talking about Facebook, I also mean all the stuff that's like Facebook, like a Google Plus or a MySpace. With Twitter, I'm covering all the stuff that is similar to Twitter. So there's lots of stuff that is similar to Facebook. There's lots of stuff that could be similar to Twitter. There's lots of stuff that could be similar to Pinterest, such as Yelp or Foursquare, where you're talking about something specific, or you're talking about stuff that it doesn't necessarily include professional, but it includes a part of your life that you want to show off. So for Pinterest, I would say the rule is whatever you can post on your wall at work, an office wall or a cube wall, you can also post at Pinterest. So something that's still professional, something that you want to show off, like I'm really passionate about it. So my pictures from Everest, I would definitely show those off on a Pinterest site because I had a great time there. I had a lot of really good pictures. I want to show them off to everybody. And they're also professional pictures. They're nothing inappropriate should have happened on that trip, right? Right. So specifically for the design guys, Pinterest can be a great way for you to show off some stuff that you don't necessarily, that isn't quite right for your portfolio, because you want to keep your portfolio very, very focused on professional, versus your Pinterest site. You can talk about the stuff that you're very excited about, your passions, and the next step of what you're looking for or where you're going to next. So you can talk about other designers, you can talk about other stuff going on. In that way you can show more about your passion, you can show more about who you are as a person, rather than your portfolio should really just be about you and only you. But it's up to interpretation, but at least it gives you a way of expressing yourself. GitHub for the software guys. So GitHub or any other account like it, just make sure that you have a place where you're showing off your code. You need to do that. It's not required yet, but it soon will be. You need to have a place where you're showing off your code. Not just your code at class, by the way, as well. I need to see all of your projects that are outside of class. I want you to be working on code outside of class. I want you to have fun with it. So you need to specify which are class projects and which are not class projects. So
is that correct? Because I have worked in business for 5 years. Is that correct to post the code from the company?
very good question. So the question was, can she post stuff that is coming from a company? No, unless it's open source. So that's why down there I said be careful. There's quite a bit of stuff at LinkedIn that is open source, and we can definitely share that out. There's stuff that I'm working on the fun side for LinkedIn, where it's a hack, where I'm putting it together, and it's not a product for the company. It's just something I'm putting together because I want to build something cool for the company. And so I'm showing off, hey, I built this. So yeah, I can show that because it's not a part of the company. It's something I'm building for myself. But eventually, if the company takes it on as their own thing, then yeah, I'm going to have to take it down again. It's just be careful about that stuff. And definitely if it's something that is proprietary, do not. Oh yeah, that's akin to stealing. So yeah, very bad. Okay, so I think I have oh good, I've got 15 minutes. Okay. I wanted to show an example of how to use LinkedIn. So Jane Ng. So Jane reached out to me last year with this email. Hi Matt, looks like you're doing a great job bringing in the best talent at LinkedIn. Graduated Harvard class 2011, currently working at Microsoft and very passionate about online experiences, really excited about LinkedIn potential. I currently work for Bing, and what we're focused on, leverage experts. Do you happen to have 30 minutes to chat? By the way, Wendy recruited me. It looks like you know each other. Thanks so much, Jane. Okay, so I get about, how many? I get about one of these emails a week. I get one person connecting with me every day, except for this time of the year where I get about 20 a day. And this is the only one I responded to. Who can call out the things that she did right in her email? Well, not the only one, but one of the few. You first.
She gave you reasons to want to talk to her.
What were specific reasons of why I should talk to her?
Like she gave her experience so that you felt like maybe she could do something for you. She got you invested in her.
Good. Can you give any more specifics? You.
So I currently work for Bing. I'm passionate. I'm interested in LinkedIn's potential in the space.
Anything else? The guy in the back.
She pointed out that she was already working on relevant stuff, and then also connected that to how she could be a potential benefit for LinkedIn.
Yep.
She pointed out a common contact that you had, which led you to, if you're fond of the other person, you would want to talk to.
Yep. Anything else?
She talked about you in the first sentence. She brought you in the picture.
Cool. Okay, so all of these are important. None of these are things that should be missed. Like, she did everything exactly right. Very few students will get this right. And she's not a student, she's a couple years out, but she did everything exactly perfect, and it's something that I wanted everybody to take note of in case you're reaching out to people. Recruiters are highly unlikely to reach back out to you just because they're getting these emails all the time, honestly. But we're getting those emails all the time, and and I apologize that your resume seems like it's gone into a black hole. Honestly, we just get thousands of them, and it's hard to follow up with everybody. But I'll show you a way to get in touch with somebody who definitely will follow up with you in a much better way. But this gives you an idea to how to reach out to potential employers. You specify, like, hey, I actually looked at your profile and why I think I should be talking to you. Second, you talked about the company. You talked about how excited you are about the company and where you think the company is going, and why, coming back to you, why you can make value with that company. So she specifically called out me, she specifically called out the company, then she talked about how she can add value to my company, and then she brought in a common contact, which actually she's the first to ever done that, so that makes a big deal. Because you shouldn't be connected with people yet you haven't spoken with. Wendy I haven't spoken to in 2 years, and I didn't double check with Wendy if she's good or not, because I could tell from the fact that she wrote this email that she's probably pretty good already. But all of these little things added up to something big. You can't just do one thing and get it right and automatically get a job for it. You have to do lots of little things over and over and over again to get them right, and then put it all together, and then you get a job, maybe. But at least you get the chance to be interviewed, and then maybe you get a job, maybe. It's a lot of things you got to put together. So she did a lot of things right in this one email. And then she followed up very consistently. She gave me lots of compliments to make myself feel good. It was a lot of really good things that she did in this email. Okay, she did eventually get a job at LinkedIn based upon me connecting her to the right people. Yeah.
Her use of exclamation points, is that good or bad? Because sometimes it's hard to know if you're being...
So she is that type of person. The important thing with an email or any other type of communication with a person is that you're authentic. You don't try to do something that you think that they're going to like. You do what is right for you. Because if you start doing something and then you change to really who you are, or you start doing something else, you're going to just confuse the person. And confusion causes people to get kicked out. So be authentic. Be authentic. Don't try to change for other people. Yep.
One thing she said was like, we have to have 30 minutes to chat sometime. I'm always telling students go 15 max. 30 minutes seems like a long commitment. Your thoughts?
Yeah, 30 minutes is too long. And I wouldn't have talked to her for 30 minutes. I would talk to her for 10. Most of the time I can get done with students in about 10 to 15 minutes. Some other recruiters go for about 30 minutes just because they like to talk about the company for a long time. That's not a killer trait for me, but it might be a killer trait for some other recruiters, especially college recruiters. We have such a little amount of time. Literally, we have thousands and thousands and thousands of resumes. We don't have a lot of time to spend with you. So we have to get through you really, really fast. 5 seconds. question.
When you returned the email, did you ask why she's looking for a job even though she has a job at that time? Like,
Oh, yeah.
she's working at Microsoft, but what's the problem that she wants to switch jobs?
All right, so that goes back to a bigger issue of how you answer that question for an interview. College students, you won't have to deal with this. It's obvious you guys want to get out of college and want to find a job. But you will always get that question for the rest of your life while you're switching jobs. So the important thing about that is to talk about the future, not the past. So don't talk about why you're leaving Microsoft. Talk about why you're going towards LinkedIn. When you're interviewing, always talk about the future. Always talk about where you're going next. So I could talk about how I hate my boss, how I don't really get along with my coworkers, or I don't really like the culture of the company. Like, that all sounds negative. I can even talk about particular things about the company that can even make the company sound good or me sound good. But if I'm talking about the current, the present, then I'm still talking about like I'm running away from something. Talk about running towards something. Talk about how you're going to enrich your life and you really think that you are the right company to enrich my life with, and I want you to prove it to me. You just put the responsibility on them to prove something to you, and they feel challenged. Challenge can be a good thing. Question in the back.
LinkedIn earlier used to have something, I don't know if that was the word. There were equivalents like apps, they were integrated, so like you could upload a PowerPoint slide or
SlideShare.
Behance was like LinkedIn or somehow, but that's gone away. Is there going to be something that can replace that type of thing, or is that just gone?
No, you can still do that. So when I'm going to my profile and I edit my profile, it says upload a file or add a link. So you can either add a link to a SlideShare presentation, SlideShare, www.slideshare.com. We own that company too. That is really good for showing PowerPoint presentations. Or you can upload a file to actually upload a PowerPoint file. So you can do lots of different things so that you can show that stuff off. For example, down here under my college recruiter stuff, I have 3 links. I have LinkedIn for students. That's a YouTube video. Then I have why do you keep looking for leadership advice? Really, I only link that for myself so that I have it constantly so I can actually go through a lot of different URLs that have really good leadership advice. And then I have Reid Hoffman's, our founder's advice for college grads, really good presentation about next steps of what you guys really should be doing for college grads. So I put those PowerPoint, YouTube, and completely something else SlideShare account, I think, up there. Oh, sorry. So that gives you guys ideas. Okay, cool. So yeah. So let's take a look at something that actually could really help you guys out. Because I mentioned how to find people who will respond to you. Let's take a look at interests. Go to education. This is going to be, you have to remember this. Go to your LinkedIn profile, go to interests, then go to education. And then you're going to be in, LinkedIn University. It's somewhat of a new program that we just rolled out. You want to go to your school. Let's go to Carnegie Mellon. Cool. So we go to Carnegie Mellon in here. Now let's explore the careers of the 59,000 alumni we've got for them. All right, so we've got all the alumni in here, or all the alumni that have LinkedIn profiles listed right here. Let's choose some folks. Somebody give me a location, any location in the entire world. Albuquerque. Awesome. I think you've been through this before, haven't you? Okay. Oh, crap. See more. Where is Albuquerque? Is that how you spell Albuquerque? B-U. D-U? B-U. Aha! See? Usually I'm a good speller, but Albuquerque's unusual. We got 82 people. We've got 82 people from CMU that live in Albuquerque. Let's choose a company out of here. Let's go Intel, because I don't want to make it too hard. It's Intel. So you got, if you were moving, or you wanted to move to Albuquerque, you wanted to work at Intel, and you happen to be a CMU alumni, you have 6 people you can reach out to immediately to talk to. Now, each of those people you can click on and then talk to, and then talk about your previous experience with CMU, and then talk to them about getting into Intel and use them as a reference point and possibly getting a referral in. Now, I don't know, do we have any, I don't think we have any recruiters in the company or in the room, but I can tell you from my personal experience, having a referral into a company usually gets you to skip the first step, which is the resume review. Usually you go straight to a call with a recruiter. You know how many people are usually sifted out in that resume review? About 90%. About 90 to 95% are kicked out during that resume review. You just increased your chances by about 10, times 10, maybe times 20, just by getting a referral into the system. You know how you get a referral? You contact one of these people. So let's talk about going something, let's go someplace harder. So you really want to move to the Portland area. You got the Intel Corporation. And let's reach out to folks who really like cooking. I don't know if I'm going to find anything. Nope, I didn't find anything. Dang it. All right. It's Albuquerque. I wonder if they like skiing. No, it's Portland. They like beer. Oh, we got 3 people that like skiing in Portland, Oregon. So you can talk to them about CMU, you can talk to them about skiing, you can talk to them about getting into Intel, and you can talk about how you really want to work in Portland because they're currently in Portland. Now, how likely are they going to respond to you? Probably close to 100%. You've got a lot of different things that tie into them. So go back to your education page, go back to your CMU page, use the CMU alumni. They really want to help you out. They really want to help you get whatever job you want to get. If you want to go to Google, you want to go to LinkedIn, you want to go to Facebook, or you want to go to the coolest, hippest place in New York, or you want to go to some place in Florida, because Florida is awesome a lot of the time of the year, and then other times it's not. So there's lots of different ways you can use this to make sure that you get what you want out of life. Cool. All right. So that's pretty much my presentation. We probably got a lot of questions. Let's open it up to questions. Unless you've been asking them the whole time. Yeah.
How important is it to, okay, actually, better phrasing. If I were not to include my phone number on my LinkedIn account, how bad is that look?
That's fine. In fact, I encourage it.
Okay.
I encourage you not to include your phone number because you're going to get a lot of recruiters calling you out of the blue. They can reach out to you through your email address and then schedule a call with you. I don't think a recruiter should really be contacting you out of the blue anyway. Personal preference, and that's with my recruiter hat off. That's how I prove. Yeah. Anyway, other questions? Yeah.
You recruit, how about when you see people there are no working experience?
So how bad is it if somebody has no working experience? It's not that bad, especially since you're a student. If you have 3 or 4 years between graduation and no working experience, then that's probably a bad sign. If you have a large gap in your resume, that's also a yellow flag, but nothing is a red flag. Nothing will kill your chances. Just realize that you're up against a lot of other people that have all that work experience, that have all that other stuff. So you need to try as best you can to get that experience. And if you don't have that experience, you can do the volunteer stuff. If you don't have other experience, try to get a referral into the system. Referrals, usually you can skip a lot of steps you can get past the person who's going to knock your resume automatically out. So there's a lot of different ways to increase your chances. One of the best ways, of course, is the internship, but that's not a guarantee that everybody can get an internship. So do everything you can on the other side.
Yeah, because international, we cannot legally get internship here. So the basic background for us is just undergraduate experience.
Okay, are you on an L1? Or on a
F1.
F1? F1, you can do CPT. Okay, so that's okay. In fact, most master's students probably don't have any internship experience, and then we expect that. So don't worry, we've seen it all before. Just as long as your coding is, let's say, your technical skills are good, and then work on your interviewing skills. For folks who are who do not have English as their primary language, you need to start hanging out with people who do have English as their primary language. You seriously need to develop a social structure of people that speak English a lot. And so that you get used to the little things, the little ways of how people speak English, so that you feel very comfortable in interviews, and you're not thinking about how do I translate this in an interview. In fact, you're thinking about how do I answer this question. That is usually what hurts a lot of people in interviews, is that they're thinking too much about how do I translate this rather than answering the question.
You gave the example of how you use Java as a keyword for searching for people.
Yeah.
Then how do you indicate that, let's say I don't know Java now, but I'm planning on taking a course in Java in the future?
Okay.
Where would you put that?
So are you talking about software, or do you want me to be more general?
In general.
Okay. So at that situation, I use Java, but in more situations, I'd probably do Java, C++, and C# because those are all the object-oriented languages. In a general sense, a recruiter is going to be looking for some common buzzwords that should be on everybody's resume, and you don't need to be as worried about your resume having and including all of those buzzwords. You just need to make sure that you have the skills that are represented that you can speak to in an interview. And if you try to include skills that you don't know and you can't speak to in an interview, that'll screw up an interview. That'll really screw up an interview if you include something you don't know.
Got time for one more question?
Didn't you have one?
Well, I was going to throw out, how do you feel about the QR codes on resumes that go to a LinkedIn profile or other online profile?
That's cool. I don't see it very often. It's a pretty rare thing. The QR codes are kind of dying out. I wish that it weren't, but it's just that they were introduced before the phones got too comfortable with them. So they will probably make a comeback eventually. But right now, probably most recruiters don't use them.
I want to thank Matt. Appreciate it. We got to wrap up because we got another session coming in, but hopefully, if you wouldn't mind, we maybe hanging outside for 5 minutes and taking some additional questions.
Yep.
Thank you, Matt. Appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody.